So we've had a very long January. We've had long weeks of starting to bring in new habits, new behaviors to help us to be a better leader this year. And now we're into February. It gets a lot harder to really keep the momentum going and to keep those habits and behaviors going. So in today's video, I want to talk through 7 leadership habits that are human-centered, that are really important to you becoming a better leader. More importantly, what I want to cover in this video is how you can turn those behaviors into identity so that they actually stick. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Zoe Thompson. I'm a leadership and performance coach. I help leaders to be more effective so that they can go home on time, not have to work weekends, and to be able to take a week off. 0 work, 0 stress, and 0 guilt. So what I wanted to talk about is these leadership habits, and it's really important. We've got lots of articles and blogs and videos everywhere talking about doing one-to-ones, acknowledging your team more coaching in your leadership approach rather than directing, communicating more regularly, encouraging development, self-efficacy, and asking for feedback. Seeing lots of articles online about people being really encouraged in their leadership this year to be more human-centric, to ask for feedback, to ask that really important question at the end of your one-to-ones: how can I be a better leader for you? And that advice isn't wrong. These are excellent leadership habits. However, the problem that most leaders have, and this is a very human trait, it's a very human thing. So if you are struggling with this, don't give yourself a hard time. It's purely evidence that you are human. But it is harder, and it is harder to keep these new habits and these new behaviors going. And when we're in that zone where we're putting the effort and the energy into it, it's a lot easier to keep that momentum going. But as other priorities come in, as our energy shift into other things that we will also want to work on, it's a lot harder to keep that momentum going and to stay consistent with these habits and behaviors. And that is often because we are treating them like habits and behaviors. And so it's more of a performance. We're showing up with that behavior rather than really embodying it and recognizing where that is becoming part of our identity and an identity shift. So that always works better. And that's because we're treating them like habits and behaviors. So it's more of a performance. It's something that we feel that we need to show up and do, rather than who we are and how we behave. So it's a much more natural way of doing things. So when we try to do these habits, it needs willpower. And so then, as I said, when things get busy, when work gets more stressful, there's more pressure on us, it gets a little bit chaotic, these habits disappear because we haven't yet embodied that identity of this is who we are, this is how I am. This is how I want to show up and lead. And that's the difference. And that's what I would say is more performing leadership versus having a leadership identity. So this is what I teach my clients through the PIIPS framework. It's the pinned video if you want to have a look to find out more. But the identity pillar within the PIIPS framework is the key part for me in a lot of the work that I do with clients in helping people to shift from one way of being to another. We need to look at the identity. We need to look at the beliefs that we hold, what we believe to be true, because that is what drives the way that we show up. And when we work on that, rather than working on the habits and behaviors at that surface level, things really start to shift. And this is what I wanted to share in this video with you today. So these 7 human-centered leadership habits are ones that research shows make a difference in leadership, and specifically in this year of 2026. The world is changing, the requirements, the demands, the need for a different style of leadership is changing. And so these will help you to shift from performing the habits and behaviors into shifting that and embodying that identity. So let's look at it in more detail. Habits are behaviors. Identity is who you become. Now, when we look at most leadership development, it focuses on the behaviors. Do this, say that, implement this system. And that's why it fails, because what we're doing is layering on new actions onto an old identity. The real transformation happens when we work on it at this identity level. We get to the core. And when you shift who you are being, the behaviors will follow naturally. So this is the performance pillar of the PIIPS framework. So removing that hustle harder ethos and focusing on building the habits, the behaviors, and the confidence that are sustainable because they are now aligned with who you are, which is the identity pillar. When habits align with your identity and your values, it doesn't feel like effort. It feels much more natural. It doesn't feel like the performance. It doesn't feel like you are performing in your leadership role. You are stepping in and evolving into that leadership role. So that's what I'm going to share with you. These 7 habits and how you can really embody it and help to evolve your leadership identity this year. So first one, acknowledging others. So important. The research shows that 91% of employees say that receiving recognition for their work motivates them to put in more effort. So we definitely want to do that. Authentic leaders express gratitude and understand that thanking people publicly is even more meaningful. Honest and thoughtful praise in the moment is among the most impactful actions that leaders can take. So performing leadership, you remember to say thank you. It's like that. You set a reminder to acknowledge someone once a week in your weekly team meeting because you know that it's important. You know that it's a leadership thing that you need to do, but it feels forced. And so when you're busy, you forget, or if you're running out of time in the meeting, it's something that drops off at the end. When you're being that leader, recognition is woven into how you see your role. You are a leader who loves to recognize the good work of your staff, the thoughtfulness of your staff, the compassion of your staff, the effort and enthusiasm of your staff. So you notice those contributions more naturally because you genuinely value what people bring to the table and bring to the team. So that acknowledgement flows from here. It's not from here, it's from here. It's not on the to-do list. It's naturally something that you pick up, you recognize, and you acknowledge in the moment. So coaching in your leadership style. Now, I am noticing a real difference with my clients who are wanting to take a more coaching approach. They recognize that actually coaching individuals on their team through a problem actually helps them to learn. It helps them to understand the decision making. It helps to improve their problem solving, decision making skills. So authentic leaders understand that they've got very talented people in their team, very resilient people within their team. And they use the coaching techniques, asking powerful questions instead of just providing the answers, listening with intent to understand, and driving towards progress. Techniques that are much more powerful than being directive. So performing leadership, you're asking questions because you're supposed to. But what you're really just waiting to do is just give them that information. And so quite often those questions are suggestions disguised as a question. So just pay attention to how often you notice yourself doing that. You are asking a question. It's actually a solution disguised as a question. Have you thought about doing this? Have you considered this? You're leading them down a particular path rather than asking a more open question. Okay, what have you considered? What are your options? So you're coaching when you have time. You're coaching when you think about it, but it's just so much easier when you're busy just to give them the answer and send them on their way. When you're being this new identity of leader, somebody who recognizes that actually coaching leadership approaches are much more beneficial both for you and your team. Genuinely, you believe that your team has the answer. You're looking at the person standing in front of you and you're thinking, what is it you're thinking? You're more curious. You genuinely believe that they do know the answer. They just need some support and some encouragement to bring that answer to the surface. Do you see your role as developing capability rather than solving the problems? And coaching is your default because you trust your team's competence. Now, you can use the CLEAR model here, as well as encouraging self-efficacy. The CLEAR coaching model, contract, listen, explore, action, and review, will definitely help you to move from that rescuer to coach. Contracting, just checking in with what they're looking for support with, listening in, exploring the options with them, helping them to get very clear on the action that they want to take, and then giving them the opportunity to review that, or making sure that they are thinking about how they will want to review that for themselves. The self-determination theory, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, so connection and belonging, really important. When you truly believe this and you understand that actually rescuing your team undermines these core psychological needs, and so you are bought into that coaching is the better way of doing things. It becomes who you are rather than what you do. You're not performing coaching questions. You're genuinely developing their capability because you understand that that is what your team needs to thrive. Now, the third one is an interesting one. Now, fun is one of my core values. So inspiring fun at work, I am definitely bought into because I know it's one of my core values. It's not the same for everybody. And what we are noticing is this shift in the workplace that people do need that fun element of work. Even in the most serious of roles, we need that fun to break that state for our own mental and emotional well-being. Work is the play of adulthood. We need to have that fun element in there. Now, it's not frivolous behavior, it's not unprofessional. And when we know that work can be entertaining and enjoyable, it increases engagement, it helps with staff retention, and also helps people to make that progress. So when we can integrate fun into the way that we work, it keeps that positive element. Now, even within my coaching, I like to have that fun element built in. I like to have that playful dynamic in conversations. And also, humor is a great way to break state when it's serious, when it's high pressure, when things are starting to feel heavy. Be able to help that with the use of appropriate humor can really help. When you're performing leadership for this, you might organize a team social because that's what people are telling you that you need to do, or because somebody has suggested it, and you force a fun Friday. It feels forced, it feels awkward. You're doing it because you think you should, but you're also not really enjoying it either. And actually, as an introvert, I'd find social events not particularly where I would want to spend my time. So you have to recognize that actually your team will also want different things in terms of that social element. When you're being this in your leadership, you genuinely believe that people do their best work when they're energized and when they're engaged. So this isn't about forcing a team social event. It's creating space for more lighthearted conversations. It's creating an environment where people can laugh and joke and have that joy alongside the work that they do. A lot of people are very passionate about the work that they do. So allowing that space for fun and creativity is not an add-on, it's just part of a really healthy team culture. Now, we do need to check with humor, so a lot of people worry about it. We do need to check that it's appropriate. And actually, one of the things that I will often talk through with my clients is I'm okay, you're okay. And we want to make sure that it is in balance, that what is fun for you is not discomfort or seen as aggression, even a microaggression to others. There's a very fine line between fun and games, laughter and banter to crossing over that line. So we need to make sure I'm okay, you're okay. We need to have that space where we're still holding that psychological safety for people, where people can have a laugh when things go wrong, but actually we're not laughing at people, we're laughing with people. This is a togetherness engagement. I'm okay, you're okay. Number 4, communicating regularly. Interestingly, a report from 2025 found that 79% of employees say the quality of communication they get from leaders impacts how well they understand the organizational goals. And 72% say that this understands and affects their engagement. So authentic leaders commit to regular and honest communication through small check-ins, regular updates, open door policies. Now, if you are performing this in leadership, you're sending a weekly update because it's on your calendar. You need to update the team. You need to do check-ins because you're supposed to. And when things get busy, communication drops off. And the first thing to drop off is that communication with your team. What we want to do to make sure that we really embody this is to see communication as the foundation of trust and clarity. So you know that when people don't know what's going on, they fill in the gaps with anxiety, with assumptions. So regular communication isn't a task, it's just how you lead. You want to keep your people updated. You want to keep those conversations going. You want two-way conversations. You want that transparency. You want honesty. You want clarity. You don't avoid those difficult conversations. You lean into them, you listen, you learn, and you share and you communicate. Number 5, encouraging development and growth. Now, authentic leaders are lifelong learners, and they will demonstrate it visibly as something that they will certainly lead by example over. They're not just committed to their own development, it means they're also committed to the development of their teams, and they want to make time to help their team to identify and pursue impactful learning opportunities. Even if that means that someday they're going to lose them to a different role, they want to see their team grow and evolve as individuals, as well as how that contributes to the organization. They understand that the only way to stay ahead of change is to keep learning. Now, if you are performing this as a leader, you approve the training requests, you have development conversations because it's one of the bullet points when you do your one-to-ones, you support the growth when it's convenient, when you can see that there is an immediate benefit for you and your team's goals, you're actively creating opportunities. Now, when you are being this leader, you see yourself as somebody who is helping your team to fulfill their full potential. You see yourself as a developer of your people, not just the manager of tasks. And there is a difference between people management and task management. Do you genuinely want your team to grow beyond their current roles? You see them in other roles within your organization, potentially elsewhere, and you want to create those opportunities for them because that's what fulfills you as a leader. So you recognize that a big part of human-centered leadership is in helping create that self-efficacy for your team and empowering your team to see and reach their full potential. So continuous improvement, learning, development, having those opportunities for them is not just rewarding for them, it's rewarding for you too. Number 6, celebrating progress. Authentic leaders know that every small win deserves recognition, and what is a win for us may not be a win for them, and vice versa. So we understand that acknowledging progress is just as powerful as celebrating outcomes. Seeing those celebratory moments as a fuel for moving forward, it's very motivating for people and also brings the team together, that team cohesion in being able to achieve those really big goals. Now, if you're performing this, you remember to celebrate when someone reminds you. You do the formal recognition at the end of a project, celebrating the outcomes and achievements, but not the journey and the progress along the way. Now, if you are being, you notice that progress naturally because you're paying attention to the journey that people are on, that momentum that people are in, not just the results. You see those small wins as evidence that you're moving in the right direction. And celebration is how you reinforce what's working. And finally, last, but definitely by no means least, asking for feedback. Feedback is one of the most valuable things that you can do as a leader. Providing thoughtful, constructive feedback regularly and seeking feedback from your own manager, but also from your team members as well, is huge. Integrating that feedback into opportunities to learn, to grow, to develop, and to evolve. It's a two-way process. So asking for feedback is a great way for you to evolve and grow in your own leadership. If you're performing this, you ask for it in those formal meetings. You ask for it in your annual review. You do the 360-degree reviews and surveys because somebody's told you that it needs to happen. You're not genuinely bought into it. And you might actually get defensive when people give you their honest feedback. When you are being, you genuinely want to improve. You see feedback as this essential information, this data. It's not personal criticism. You feel safe to receive this information because it feels very honest, it's very clear, and actually it gives you the opportunity to reflect and review where you're at and where you want to be and where you could be. Now, if you do find feedback uncomfortable, then you can use the 4 Ps to help you with this. pause, don't react immediately. Just take a moment, hear them out, let them get through to the end, take it and take it away. Take it away to think about it. Thank them for that opportunity for you to hear it, but also for them in taking that time to share this information with you. You've got to remember, this is uncomfortable for people to give as well as it might be for you to receive. So don't react immediately. Listen through to the end. Thank them for the information to take it away. Then you can sit in that more neutral emotional state to review what you've heard, think about what you've heard and what you want to do with that information, and then you can prioritize it. What's the most important insight for you here and what matters most? Then you can proceed with purpose. You can think about how you can use this feedback to improve. What do you want to act upon and what do you want to acknowledge? And then maybe park for a different day, or maybe not even at all. The more active you are in asking for feedback, the more comfortable you get in receiving feedback, and the more you learn how to use that feedback to your advantage. Those are the 7, and that is how you can embody those habits and behaviors into this next evolution of your own leadership identity. The 7 habits are excellent. The research is there to back it up. They work. What we want to do is take you from that stage of performing those habits and behaviors to embodying them into your leadership identity. So get clear on your core values, because these 7 habits will only stick when they align with what matters most to you. Check each habit against your values and find which ones naturally align and which ones need to be adjusted to fit who you are and what is most important to you. Focus on identity, not behavior. Don't ask, what should I do? Ask, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And use the frameworks to embed each habit into your leadership identity. This is also written as a blog. I know you can probably see me looking at my notes on the screen. If you want to look at this, head to the website. The blog is there. So if you prefer it all written out, you can refer back to it. But use the frameworks to help you to embed all of these habits into this next evolution of your leadership. And lastly, give yourself some time. Identity shifts do not happen overnight. Practice makes permanent, but once they're permanent, they are in there. It's just how you show up and how you lead. And so if you want those habits and behaviors be who you become, then practice makes permanent. I hope that's been helpful. I would love to hear in the comment section what has been most helpful in all of that to you. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. You can check out the links for more free training. There's other videos here on the YouTube channel. Please do subscribe, like the videos that are useful to you, share the ones that you think might be useful to others. And also there's the weekly podcast. There's lots of free resources there. I would love to hear from you and hear what's of value and how you get on with implementing and evolving on your leadership journey.